When the CEO of a billion-dollar tech firm is moments away from losing a crucial French deal due to the sudden absence of a translator, salvation arrives from the most unexpected place, the janitor's daughter. What unfolds next is a whirlwind of secrets, sabotage, and an underdog's rise that no one saw coming. Stay with this story till the end. It just might change the way you see power, language, and genius hidden in plain sight. Subscribe now for more jaw-dropping stories that twist reality on its head. Asterisk, it was supposed to be a smooth, historic day for Archvale Tech, a billion-dollar empire built on the shoulders of artificial intelligence and automation. As the CEO, Grant Holloway, prepared to finalize a groundbreaking merger with France's largest robotics firm, robotic, a deal months in the making, one that could launch Archvale into an untouchable global stronghold. But minutes before the French delegation entered the boardroom, disaster struck. Marie, the company's trusted French translator, collapsed from a sudden allergic reaction and was rushed to the hospital, leaving Holloway and his board of high-ranking executives in a blind, panicked stupor, unable to understand or negotiate the imminent meeting. As the seconds ticked by and the boardroom doors creaked open to reveal the arriving French contingent, smiling, poised, fluent only in their native tongue, Holloway's heart thundered in his chest, and sweat trickled down his spine because no one in the room could bridge the chasm of language, and this 1 hour was all that stood between Archvale's dominance or total collapse in European markets. As whispers of "what now?" and "call someone, anyone?" echoed through the sterile halls, security scoured the building for bilingual staff. But it was already too late. The visitors were seated, the press was on standby, and the CEO's career now teetered on the edge of humiliation. And just then, in a janitor's closet outside the executive suite, 13-year-old Leila Moreau, wearing paint-smeared overalls and holding a bucket, glanced up from her sketchbook as her father, Mr. Moreau Archvale's aging janitor, grumbled into a walkie-talkie about the chaos unfolding upstairs. Something stirred inside Leila. A memory of overhearing her father talk about the big French meeting while she doodled robots on napkins in the cafeteria, and without hesitation, she dropped the mop, stuffed her sketchbook under her arm, and raced up 12 floors, past stunned receptionists and glaring security, into the lion's den of corporate tension, where Holloway, red-faced and floundering, froze as the elevator dinged, and in walked the janitor's daughter, curly-haired, wide-eyed and confidently French. "Je peux vous aider," she offered, her voice ringing with the crisp clarity of Parisian fluency. And the room fell so silent that even the cameras stopped clicking. Holloway blinked. "Who? ... Who are you?" And she simply replied, "The help you need." Stunned but desperate, he gave her the floor. And as she gracefully greeted the French delegation with a poise that defied her age, translating their greetings, jokes, and technical jargon with stunning precision, the meeting not only resumed, it soared. Leila didn't just translate. She elevated the conversation, catching subtle cultural nuances, adapting metaphors, even correcting a mistranslation in Archvale's product documents that would have derailed the deal entirely. And when the French CEO raised a brow at the correction and asked her, in rapid native tongue, "Where did you study?" Leila smiled and said, "I listen, and I read everything," revealing she'd taught herself French through borrowed library books and late-night podcasts while cleaning after hours with her father in her real passion, robotics, which she'd been sketching, building, and improving on scraps from Archvale's dumpsters, at which point she quietly opened her sketchbook and laid out stunning blueprints of drone designs, AI schematics, and multilingual interface flows that left even Archvale's head of engineering speechless. Holloway, sensing the tide had turned from corporate disaster to something miraculous, leaned in, watching the French board marvel at Leila's talent. And then one of them, the CTO of robotic, whispered, "She speaks the language of the future," and the room burst into nods of agreement. The deal was signed within the hour, and Leila, still wearing her janitor overalls, walked out not only as the girl who saved Archvale, but as the talk of both companies. But the story didn't end there. A week later, national news picked up the tale of the janitor's daughter, who outsmarted Silicon Valley. And Lila was offered scholarships, internships, and even a spot in a Parisian tech academy, which she turned down, stating that she preferred to build her own academy someday, one that doesn't ignore people in uniforms. Holloway, realizing the company had ignored brilliance for far too long, offered Lila a mentorship under Archiv's R&D wing and created the Lila Initiative, a program to find hidden talent among support staff's families. The media frenzy grew, something darker surfaced. An internal email leak revealed that Marie's allergic collapse may not have been accidental. And suspicion fell on one of Archiv's senior executives, who had bet against the merger and stood to gain millions if it failed suddenly. What looked like a stroke of misfortune turned into a sabotage attempt, but with Lila's sudden intervention, the plan had not only failed, it had backfired. As investigators closed in, the traitor fled the country, and Holloway publicly credited Lila for saving not just the deal, but the soul of the company. Yet even with all the attention, Lila never lost her humility, still helping her father mop the halls on weekends, still sketching new machines on napkins, still dreaming of building tech that wasn't just smart, but kind. And one day, 2 years later, when she stood on stage as the youngest guest speaker at a global tech summit in Geneva, she began her speech not with code, but with a story of a meeting that almost failed, of a man in a suit who panicked, and a girl in overalls who took control, not to impress, but to help. And as the standing ovation echoed through the grand hall, Lila smiled and said, in both French and English, "Language can separate people, but also unite them, if we're brave enough to listen." And thus the janitor's daughter became not just a translator of words, but a bridge between worlds, between class, culture, and possibility, reminding everyone that brilliance doesn't always wear a badge or sit in a boardroom. Sometimes it mops the floor and waits for its moment to speak. Asterisk.